Oh boy, guys, I am so excited to talk to you about these fragrances from the house of Kyse Perfumes. This is a house I discovered while I was in LA at LuckyScent in DTLA, the Scent Bar. And then, of course, also at the Scent Bar, LuckyScent at the Hollywood location as well. They had just received this fragrance, Frangipane Al Pistacchio, this one right here. It was part of their new releases group of fragrances, and I was going through them and I was like thinking to myself, oh boy, another pistachio fragrance, gotta check it out. This was the first time I heard about these fragrances from this brand, although I believe I know the name Terri Bozzo. She's the perfumer behind these fragrances. These are very, very indie fragrances, and from what I remember hearing, she's up here in the Northern California area. I could be wrong with that, but I think that's what I remember. These are also very inexpensive fragrances. They are currently sold at LuckyScent, 60 ml bottles for $85, Eau De Parfum concentration. If you're curious to learn about these, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Today we're talking about Kyse Perfumes. Are you guys familiar with this house? Those of you that shop at LuckyScent frequently, you might have seen these come up. And absolutely the most delicious gourmand fragrances at great prices is what I have to say about these fragrances. Again, 60 ml bottles, $85, Eau De Parfum concentration, and they're all different gourmand fragrances that go into different directions. And I've got 6 of them here that I'm going to talk to you about. And I'm starting off with Frangipane Al Pistacchio because this is the latest release. So I'm going to do it by date, newest till the oldest, and then after the video is over, I'm going to tell you what my favorites are, which order they are ranked. If you want to find out more about these fragrances, I have a link in the info box to LuckyScent, to the brand. You can go check them out there. I have a discount code listed there as well you can use to buy any of these fragrances. Now, those of you that are gourmand lovers, you're going to love these fragrances. Again, there's so many different directions these gourmand fragrances go in. I think they're going to satisfy those of us that have kind of sweet tooth for gourmand perfumes. So let's go ahead and talk about Frangipane Al Pistacchio. This is, as I said, a very indie house. The fragrances come in very simple bottles. They're all probably hand done. In the back, you could see the name of the brand, and of course, here we've got a photo of the theme of the genre of the style of the fragrance, and it's basically Frangipane Al Pistacchio. It's 2023 launch, 60 ml, $85, as I said, Eau De Parfum concentration, and this fragrance features notes of almonds or tonka, because I also get tonka beans with this, vanilla, pistachio, heliotrope, sugar, cream, and sandalwood. I'm going to smell it for you on camera and tell you what I'm getting. This was, again, one of the fragrances I discovered. I actually discovered this brand for the first time, and probably one of the most exciting brands that I discovered while I was down in LA for Art and Olfaction Awards. And since I discovered the Frangipane Al Pistacchio, I had to explore the rest of the collection. And of course, they turned out to be really, really great. And they are, again, under $100 for these fragrances, 60 ml bottles. And this is a great way to support an indie house. And those of you that love gourmands, you can really, explore all different directions. So for me, this is definitely almondy. Very, very nutty. Very, very powdery. For me, even though the name pistachio is in here, the pistachio essence or smell is fairly short-lived. It's more about almonds, and it's also very bitter. So I also get kind of like a bitter tonka kind of a smell. I've tasted tonka beans. It's got that bitterness. Now I'm translating the taste of the bitterness of the tonka into the smell. But also something like the inside of the seeds of apricots. Those also have this bitterness. So I'm getting that kind of nutty bitterness. But of course, there's loads of powder here. We've got heliotrope. Heliotrope is a powdery note that has this kind of a floral note. It's a purple flower that has kind of powdery almondy touches. And then of course some creaminess, of course some woodiness, and vanillic touches as well. So if you like the idea of a nutty fragrance, not necessarily uber pistachio, more about pistachio when you first spray it, then becomes almonds in the dry down, bitter almonds. I can also say something like a Marzipan as well. This one's definitely going to satisfy if you are into those kind of styles. Definitely a nutty gourmand, I should say. And even though it's got the name pistachio in the name, I don't get a lot of pistachio. And also frangipane. Not much in the frangipane direction, which is a tropical flower, but perhaps there might be some hints of it in the back somewhere that I did not get. There's definitely some light milky lactonic qualities with Frangipane Al Pistacchio as well, but it's quite delicious. It's one of my favorites here from this house. Well, they're all great. I actually, when I was at LuckyScent, I actually did a quick video of my favorites to remember so I can kind of circle back later and review these for you. So I smelled all of these in store, which I'll post the video as well. You can see and find out what I think about these fragrances today here. All right, the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is OUI PLUS, or PLUS, if I guess that's how you say it in French. This is it right here. So I have to be honest, this is my absolute favorite from this house. So delicious. But if it wasn't for Frangipane Al Pistacchio, I would never have discovered this house. So I'm so glad that fragrance was, featured as one of the new fragrances at Scent Bar, the 2 Scent Bar locations, for me to dig in and discover some great gourmand fragrances. But this is super delicious. Launched in 2022, 60 ml for $85. They're all 60 ml, $85. Eau De Parfum concentration. And don't forget the discount code in the info box. You can use that. But OUI Plus has notes of graham cracker, marshmallow, cocoa absolute, Peru balsam, patchouli, styrax, and burnt coffee. If you're into Profumum aroma fragrances, the gourmands from that house, you might really dig this house, and it's at a fraction of the price they charge for their fragrances. This to me kind of reminds me, now I'm drawing a blank with the name, one of their chocolatey fragrances, but in a different direction. For me, the graham cracker is so prominent here and beautifully contrasted with the chocolatey cocoa touches. There's definitely a balsamic resinous, undertone here, and ambery touches as well. But in the end, oh man, it is so good. So good. Really gourmandy with the graham crackers, the marshmallows, creamy, smooth, chocolate, balsams, and amber, and a very light hint of burnt coffee. There's maybe a little bit of smokiness. So basically, if you like the idea of s'mores, kind of smoky, toasted, when you're burning it with the chocolate and the graham crackers and the marshmallows, it's all melted because there's definitely a melted quality here. Smooth and creamy, a bit burnt, then you're going to really dig OUI Plus from Kyse Perfumes. This is really delicious. This is the one that's the darkest juice out of all of the fragrances here, and it's the most delicious. For me, it's top-notch gourmand. I can't wait to wear it day in and day out when it's autumn out there, because I think OUI Plus is going to be perfect autumn fragrance, and perhaps winter as well. But let me know so far if you've tried any of these fragrances. I'd like to find out, is this the first time you're hearing about this house? Again, it's a very indie house. The fragrances come in very simple bottles, and they're definitely very hand bottled and everything. When I received these fragrances also, this part was sealed for prevention of any kind of leakage. So it was kind of like a type of material that kind of, grabs the corners and edges here and seals it, and then you just peel it off and you wear the fragrances and really enjoy some tasty, delicious fragrances. All right, the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is a fragrance launched in 2022 called Macarons. This one right here. So this is very much inspired by that really yummy treat. This was launched in 2022, just like OUI Plus that I discussed with you a little bit ago. But this one, once again, 60 ml, $85, Eau De Parfum concentration. This features notes of marzipan, heliotrope, velvety vanilla, custard, caramelized sugar, cherry, and myrrh. So let's go ahead and smell this one. So I should say it does have a little bit of a fruitiness because it does have that cherry note. I don't really get distinctly cherry. It definitely has a fruitiness for sure. But in the end, it's very creamy, very smooth, very lactonic. This is definitely a highlight of all the fragrances, or most of the fragrances here. There's definitely a lactonic, creamy, milky vibe about all of the fragrances. So if you like this kind of a, fragrance style or note, you definitely got to check these out. But they're very sweet fragrances because they're all very, very gourmand. But this one in the end has very smooth, creamy, vanillic touches, sweet gourmandy touches, lightly nutty as well. There's definitely the idea of marzipan here, but it's not as nutty as this Frangipane Al Pistacchio, as I was talking to you about a little while ago. This macarons are supposed to be kind of nutty, especially when they highlight something like marzipan, and then they also feature heliotrope, because heliotrope has that kind of almondy touch. But for me, this one is not as nutty as that one. And the other one, the Frangipane Al Pistacchio, definitely has a bitter almondy nuttiness, but this one has a very light, smooth nuttiness because it's beautifully blended with all of the notes together to create this kind of like a macaroon like smell, and really absolutely delicious. I should say the first two fragrances were a lot stronger than macaroons. Macaroons seems a bit more personal also, so it's a bit subdued. It doesn't jump out as much, it doesn't scream as much, but in the end it's a super delicious gourmand fragrance. Macaroons, yummy, yummy. As you can see, the photos basically show you exactly what you're going to experience. We've got the OUI PLUS here, as you can see, the graham crackers, they're kind of like s'mores. And then, of course, with the Frangipane Al Pistacchio, I don't get a lot of the pistachio in that one. It's more almonds, but I think when you first spray it, for sure, you're getting that pistachio, and basically it kind of disappears and becomes almondy. All right, the next fragrance we're talking about is Cocco alla Vaniglia, this one right here. So this one, Cocco meaning coconuts. As you can see, the photo of the label has coconuts on it. It's got a milky kind of a coconut milk kind of jumping out of the coconut shell. And to me, this is very realistic coconut, but for me, it reminds me of shredded coconuts that I used to help my mom cook with when I was very, very young. Get a bag of shredded coconuts. You'd use it in desserts and cooking and things like that. This realistically smells like opening up a bag of coconuts, shredded coconuts dried, and then just getting it ready for my mom to bake with. This is a 2019 launch, 60 ml, $85. Eau De Parfum concentration. It has notes of coconut pulp, vanilla beans, cream, organic tonka beans, and butter. Yes, very, very creamy, very, very milky, very, very lactonic. You got to be into that. It's sweet also because it has all these sweet notes in here, and then also very, very gourmand. There's some light touches of spices that come under there, but there's definitely the idea of a fluffy kind of velvety smooth experience when you're wearing this one. Really super delicious. And as I was saying, just imagine if you have ever opened up a bag of dried coconut shreds, and the smell in that bag is right here. To me, it doesn't smell, well, it does smell like, the fresh coconut, but for me, I've had so much experience with that, dried shredded coconut, that this just so much reminds me of smelling the opening of the bag of shredded coconuts. So delicious, guys. This one's really delicious. This is for the coconut lovers. Cocco alla Vaniglia is the fourth fragrance I'm speaking about, and that's the oldest fragrance I've spoken about so far from this house, and we're going to get to a few older ones in a bit. All right, the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Delizia di Marshmallow, this one right here. So this is the marshmallow idea, and very, very fluffy. It is definitely marshmallows come to life. Once again, it's 60 ml, $85, EDP concentration, and launched in 2019. The last one is from 2014, and I'll get to that in a bit. But Delizia de Marshmallow features notes of marshmallow, vanilla, sugar, and it's a very warm, very, very fluffy, velvety, smooth, creamy. Once again, very, very creamy. But this time we're not getting milky. We're just getting cream, kind of fluffy, not cloudy, but like airy, but really delicious vanillic. For me, this one seems the most subdued. So in the end, it sits very, very close to the skin, but you definitely really experience the marshmallowy touches here. For me also, it has a bit of a cotton candy-like smell, but not necessarily mixed with fruits, because sometimes they have cotton candy very kind of fruity, And that with its cotton candy, I'm getting mostly vanillic touches. And the whole fact that it's kind of airy, and the fact that cotton candy can be kind of airy as well, I get that kind of an experience with this one. But it's for the vanillic fragrance lovers. It's just basically vanilla, sugar, and marshmallow. So in the end, it's mostly very vanillic, but you got the sugary touches, and then of course the powdery marshmallowy touches as well. Super yummy, but just be warned, this one's definitely subdued. It sits close to the skin, and some of you like that kind of thing. It could be a very, very cozy, comforting experience for you to wear at home and just chill out and, maybe read a book, sip on some tea and maybe watch some TV or something. So that's Delizia di Marshmallow from the house of Kyse Perfumes. So this, once again, is one of my favorites from this house. It's my number 2 favorite. It is so, so yummy. So, so yummy. It's also as potent as the first 2 fragrances in that we've got some major potency here. So there's 3 fragrances that are super potent and 3 fragrances that are somewhat subdued. And I'm going to let you know about it when I'm ranking the list. But we've got the fragrance launched in 2014 here, 60 ml, 85 EDP concentration. And we've got browned caramel, butter, beeswax absolute, coconut milk, lemons, musk, ambroxan, and oak moss. This fragrance would have fit perfectly into my citrusy gourmand fragrances video. If you like the idea of citrusy gourmand fragrances, you're definitely going to really dig this one. Really will. So the idea of Bake from Acro comes up, and also Unknown Pleasures from Kerosene comes up. For me, I feel like this is more gourmand than those 2 fragrances. Still, the lemons are there. It's sweetened up with all the sweet treats that are in here. It's definitely gooey, caramelly, also creamy, buttery, bit lactonic as well. And then, of course, it gets musky and ambroxany in the dry down. But the ambroxan, I feel like, is not necessarily potent, so you're not going to really be interfered with the ambroxan here. It's there to prolong the life of this fragrance. It's got honey touches and, kind of smoky, caramelly touches mixed in with all that buttery kind of creaminess. And then, of course, the lemon. Super, super delicious. Really, really, really yummy gourmand here. Super, super delicious, as I said. So if you like the idea of a lemony, citrusy gourmand fragrance, you've got to get your nose on Douceur Brulee. It's so, so good, guys. Really delicious. So that is the video here with the 6 different fragrances. Here's the ranking. So OUI Plus or OUI PLUS is the number 1 fragrance for me. This is way up there. So, so good. I think the fragrance I was trying to say from Perfume Roma is Sorriso. But it's not identical because there's a lot more happening with OUI Plus than Sorriso. Sorriso is mostly chocolate. Here we've got a lot of different things happening, so it's a bit more complex than Sorriso. Then at number 2, it's Douceur Brulee. And Douceur Brulee, again, it's a citrusy gourmand. It's yummy. It's super delicious with buttery, creamy touches. Absolutely love it. Frangipane Al Pistacchio is the 3rd one. And as you can see, I've selected the most potent as my top 3 because they do have, definitely potency here, and you can really smell them, and they do fill a room and things like that. These are not uber beast mode, but they're definitely intense. I've done so many testings with this, and I've come back the next day, and the studio has been filled with the smell. But it's not as potent as something like Followed by Kerosene, where the smell won't go away. These do disappear after a while. But Frangipane Al Pistacchio is that very nutty gourmand fragrance. Not necessarily pistachio, but more almonds. For me, that's how I experience it, and that's at number 3. Then we've got Macarons at number 4. And again, this is the Macarons experience. If you like the idea of the taste of nuttiness, kind of delicious gourmand, sweet pastry-like touches, then you've got to definitely get your nose on Macarons. And again, this is subtle, subdued. It's not the most subtle subdued. I think the Delizia, the Marshmallow, is the most subtle, most subdued, closest to the skin. But still, this is not as potent as the first 3 fragrances I spoke to you about. So Macarons is number 4 in the ranked list. Then we've got Cocco alla Vaniglia, and this is just like coconuts. Definitely very coconutty. If you like coconuts, if you like the smell of them, especially as I was saying, when you open up a bag of shredded dried coconuts for baking, this is it right here. It's almost like the coconut dessert. I mean, it's a dessert that's like overdosed with a lot of coconuts, and you can smell nothing but coconuts. So that is also similar to Macarons. It's not necessarily as subdued as the last fragrance on the list. This is Delizia di Marshmallow. And again, this is the most subdued. It's the one that's the closest to the skin, but it is really, really delicious. It's very vanillic, creamy, marshmallowy, and sugary. Super delicious. Anyway, that's my rank list for these Kyse perfumes. I'd like to explore the house further, but when I was at LuckyScent Scent Bar, I remember these were the highlights, and they definitely live up to what they are all about. Really, really delicious fragrances. So I hope you guys get to try these over at LuckyScent. If you're down there, go check them out, or you can order samples and things like that. Full bottles, under $100, are really definitely affordable Gourmand fragrances. Again, they're not necessarily in the most luxurious or unique bottles. They're very simplistic, handmade and everything, but I mean, they're very quality Gourmand fragrances. Don't forget to take advantage of the discount code in the info box. Other than that, guys, thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.